This is the Albuquerque Business Podcast with your host, Jason Rigby. Each week, we interview leading local business leaders to inspire the vision and spirit that is in every entrepreneur, discussing strengths, weakness, strategies, systems, and the problems we can all solve together to fulfill a shared vision of a new future for Albuquerque.
Hi, my name is Jason Rigby, and welcome to the Albuquerque Business Podcast. Today on our show, we have a very special guest. I don't want to give it away, but he is a local celebrity and a YouTuber. His name is, we're not going to get into that in a little bit. So stick around. I want to thank 99.9 FM The Beat. If you're at your work, stream 99.9thebeatfm.com. Also want to thank Duke City Marketing, the digital marketing agency here in Albuquerque. If you're looking at Instagram story ads, you're looking at Snapchat ads, don't hesitate to go to www.dukecitymarketing.com. So today on the show, I have Stevo, and you're on the morning show?
Yeah, dude. I do. Yeah. It's called The Morning Invasion. It's on 88.3 FM and Albuquerque or star 88.fm globally. Did you know I'm global?
You're global?
I'm global, dog. So yeah, dude, we do a morning show called The Morning Invasion. Me and my co-host, his name's Dex, and we've both been in radio since Moses brought tablets down from a mountain. So yeah. But yeah.
So what is this new YouTube thing that I keep saying?
Yeah. So, okay. You know when you're in the shower, like, and you're just daydreaming and like getting ready for the day, and you're like, I'm going to do this. My co-host, Dex, he was in the shower, and he has all of his really dumb, crazy, fun ideas in the shower. And
was there like what's the soap on the road? I thought of one. I heard a comedian talk about this a long time ago. He called it like the Pope on the rope.
Yes, dude. So he came up with this idea to interview celebrities in a sauna, in a dry sauna. Well, his first idea was actually to interview them in the shower because he was in the shower, and then we realized
that's kind of too personal.
Yeah, too personal, and that'd be on like YouTube Red. So we were like, okay, that's not gonna fly. So we decided to do it in a sauna, and he pitched it to me, and I thought it was the stupidest idea I've ever heard. Seriously. And so he's telling me like, no, man, dry saunas because it activates your heat shock proteins. And he got like super serious with me because he listens to way too much Joe Rogan. And so he's telling me all about this idea, and we're like, all right. So we have some buddies who have a production company, and they were asking for ideas. So we said, we want to interview celebrities in a sauna. and we thought nothing's going to happen. And the next day they texted and said, sauna's on its way.
Oh, wow. So
they ordered the sauna, and you can go to our YouTube, youtube.com/Don'tSweatTheSmallStuffTV. We actually have a video of us unpacking this sauna from a pallet and trying to build a sauna from J&H Lifestyles. It's this company that just sells portable saunas.
That's great.
So yeah, so that's how the idea came about, and we just decided why not, because we do a local morning show, and so we've got some friends in the industry or whatever, right. Random people that we've interviewed, and different cool celebrities from TV shows and movies and whatever, the UFC world. And so we thought, well, let's bring them in the sauna and let's hang out with them. And we called it Don't Sweat the Small Stuff because there's so many things you can find on the internet. You just Google it, and it's like all the things that you can find out about people. And so we thought, don't sweat the small stuff because, well, one, we're sweating, and there you go, because we're in a sauna. But two, we don't want to talk about the small stuff, because if you can Google it, that's small stuff. So we go deep. We get real, man. Like
that's awesome.
We had the Karate Hottie on from the UFC. She's
right.
a contender. I think she's fighting in March.
That's awesome.
Amazing. And she tells a story she's literally never told before about her uncle or her aunt's boyfriend taking his own life in front of her when she was 6.
Oh my God.
Yeah, right? Did it just get way too serious? Did I just bring the room down? I brought the room down.
It's a business podcast.
All 27 people, we have a live audience watching us. Nobody's saying anything.
That's awesome.
Yeah, dude. So it's like, that was it. Because I think people crave authenticity. They want what's real.
Right.
And so we're like, well, let's get real. I mean, we're doing a podcast right now. You know,
exactly.
We like talking. People love hearing perspectives and opinions, and this is, it's raw, it's real, it's gritty. It's Jason, you, and me hanging out.
Well, I saw on Spotify now they were saying from 18-year-old to 34-year-old, because they just released podcasts on Spotify.
Yeah.
And they're saying like that age group it's like hundreds of % the amount that they're downloading.
Oh,
but you know what's interesting is everybody talks about the younger generation not paying attention.
Yeah.
They can only handle a minute or two on a video, but they'll listen to a 3-hour Joe Rogan podcast.
Exactly. And that's, so for our show, everybody was saying it's got to be 5 minutes. It's got to be 8 minutes. It's got to be, they had all these like analytics for what it should be. Our longest episode is 26 minutes, something like that. And the biggest complaint we keep getting about our program is that it's too short.
Yes.
It's people going, we want more. And it's like, well, there's something to be said about leaving people wanting more.
Right.
But I agree with you. I think the idea that the younger generation, like, oh, they're going to check out, they're going to be on the phone, there's this weird idea of like what the millennial is. And I think a lot of it's skewed by us old people.
Exactly.
and really they just want to have a conversation. Right. They just want to hang out. And so, yeah, I love it, man.
No, I love it. That's awesome. I think just being authentic.
Yeah.
That's what people want.
It's different. It's different than what we're used to. Because growing up, your parents or everybody, they were trying to shelter you or shield you, or nobody wanted to talk about this certain thing. And so because of that, I think we have a generation that's like, yeah, but I want to talk about those things. I want to know why America was in like this debt crisis. I want to know why marriages are failing at a disastrous rate. I want to know why businesses are shutting down. I want to know why, you know what I mean? And so it's like, oh, right, that happened because there was a whole generation of people who were sheltered or shielded from, well, the truth. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, the negative aspects
American
of things.
Dream.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
We could do a whole hour on my dissertation of how much I hate the American dream.
Yeah, and that's something that corresponds with business. When you start looking at people, I noticed today I was talking with somebody, and it was earlier today when I was out and about with some business leaders, and they were just so stressed out.
Yeah, dude.
And it's just nuts to see people just go.
Yeah.
It's sad whenever. I know you're passionate about what you do, and you know the YouTube, what you got going on right now. Can you talk? Do you mind talking a little bit about, in specifics, about you as a person? Because I know a lot of people watch you
I'm a
or they
male.
listen to.
I'm 40.
Not your Tinder
brown
profile.
eyes. Oh. On my Tinder profile, I'm 6'3". Yeah.
So if you're liberal, do you swipe left?
Oh man. Okay, so talking personally about what? I'm sorry.
No, about you. Where'd you come from?
Oh, okay. Born in Lubbock, Texas.
Oh, really?
But, yeah, right.
So you're from Texas.
Texas
See,
kid.
I didn't even know this stuff about you.
Right, exactly. Born in Texas, but I moved here when I was 9 years old, and so I call myself a New Texican. Lived in New Mexico most of my life, and so all the way up to middle school, I lived here in Albuquerque. My mom was an air traffic controller. Single mom. Yeah.
Dude, that's like one of the hardest jobs in.
I know. Yeah. She worked under the Reagan administration when all her friends were like kind of saying.
Didn't Reagan have like a thing where he like boycotted?
Yeah. It was, see, and here I am, a kid. Like I was a kid. So here's what I know. I know that there were some of my mom's friends who were like anti and said, forget you, president. And the president said, cool, you're fired. And my mom wasn't one of those people. So she was an air traffic controller forever.
Dude, that's a stressful job.
Yeah. Yeah, back in the day, it was like the #1 most stressful job. So I remember hanging out, being a kid, getting to go to the airport and thinking, this is what I'm going to do when I grow up. And then 9/11 happened, and then that was the end of everything. Like you couldn't even like look at the building she worked in because it was
security.
It changed everything because it was like, look at these people there, and they're like smoking and telling airplanes like, yeah, you wanna turn left, yeah, definitely turn left here. You have 4,000 feet, cool, man. And then 9/11 happened, and all of a sudden it became like a pretty important job.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah.
But meanwhile, there were people that were so stressed out. Like, I know it's a business podcast, but I'm like, listen, that was number one as far as like suicide rate back then.
Yes.
Air traffic controllers.
Yeah, that's what I was in the Marine Corps, and so on the aviation side.
Yeah.
And that's what they told us. They're just like, but I think like burnout rate is like 3 to 7 years or something like that.
So my mom, one, her whole life, air traffic controller. Two,
Wow.
single mom. So she wins all of the awards.
And she raised you.
And she raised me, and
Which
I'm
would
the
be
oldest
worse?
of three. I
Like,
don't even know, man.
Hold the pattern.
Yeah.
And I got 17 jets.
Or
How many people
Steven, you get off of there right now. Yeah, I don't know what's worse. I honestly don't. I'd take the air traffic controller job over raising me. I really would.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, dude. So came up from there and moved here, and then when I was in middle school, we moved to Las Vegas, New Mexico, which is like, dude, media capital of the world. I don't know if you knew that.
No,
it's not. It's really bad. No,
you had me going there. For a
Red
second.
Dawn and Wyatt Earp were filmed there when I was
the
a
new
kid.
Wyatt Earp.
With Kevin. You say new, you realize that's from like the 90s,
well, I
right?
know, but you know we're old.
I know. You're like, the new one. It was after Tombstone, which was also in the 90s.
Kevin Costner was like the man.
Don't you say anything bad about Costner, bro.
Yeah,
I love that man
even
so
with
much.
his massages and everything.
I love him, bro. I love him. So yeah, and then lived there for a few years. Went to military school. I went to NIMI, the New Mexico Military Institute,
military school,
Roswell, New Mexico.
Were you thinking military or
no? So getting like deeply personal. My dad passed away when I was 6 years old, and he went to NIMI. He was a graduate from the New Mexico Military Institute, and my mom always raved about how he was this incredible dude, and was like, "You should go to school there because he was great. You're gonna be great." And I went there, and I was not great. So sophomore year, I ended up coming home like halfway through sophomore year.
What do you think about people with, the expectations of like parents and stuff?
Oh gosh,
there's people right now that are listening to this that are doing something that they hate to do because of a parent.
Because of a parent, or because
and they're 30 and 40.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was it's. I think it's funny. I think because of the way you were raised, you tend to skew. I don't want to say opposite, but. So I grew up with that kind of structure. My mom was a Baptist. She was, she had all of these expectations, and she tried very hard to get me, excited about anything. And she did everything she could to love me and make sure I had everything, since I didn't have a dad.
Right.
So me as a father now with 3 kids of my own, I'm constantly trying to take the pressure off of them, because I felt like there was always that pressure, especially as the oldest of a single mom.
Right.
Like I'm the man now. Like, because society is like, oh, this is it. You're the man. You're the head of the house. You're the man of the house. And so I think because of that, I've tried to let my kids be kids longer.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So.
Because you had that responsibility yet, then had to go through your teenage years.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I wish I could say like, and because of that, I was a very mature individual. I'm 40 and I have a YouTube show, so that's a lie.
Yeah, we both have sleeves.
Yeah. Oh, dude, and
we're so cool for over 40.
I will say, being over 40 and having sleeves is actually pretty cool, because back then when we were getting them, it wasn't cool in society.
Cool. What I love now is if you're like on the hot meter from like 1 to 10, if you're a 5 and you have sleeves, bro, you go to an easy 7.5.
8, bro. 8. I'm saying it. 8 because of the beard. So, yeah, man. So
what happened after? So you went to high school here?
Yeah, I went to La Cueva. Went to La Cueva High School. And
isn't that a new rap group,
dude? Dude, you want to talk rap? My first concert was Belle Biv DeVoe, Keith Sweat, and Johnny Gill.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
Tingley Coliseum. And
Belle Biv DeVoe.
Belle Biv DeVoe. My mom took me. I was the kid that spray painted my pants. Hip hop was my jam. And we were at the show. We made it all the way to Belle Biv DeVoe. They started singing "Do Me," and my mom was like, "And we're leaving."
And this is a Baptist mom.
This is a Baptist mom who was like, "Stephen Michael Cheater, we are leaving right now." And so
you're like, "This is the number one.
This is my jam. This is you can do me." Yeah. So, and you know what the funny thing is? About a year ago, we had Belle Biv DeVoe on our morning show, and I had my mom come in and. I made Belle Biv DeVoe apologize to my mom.
No way.
Yeah.
Dude, that is like...
I'm like, guys, listen, bro.
Is there any other full circles you could do?
No. So I'm like, listen, she was trying the best she could. She was a single mom. She didn't know any better. Yeah, dude.
You have to get one of the Reagans
yes,
that are still alive,
dude, that are still,
and have her fly her out
and
to
just be like,
California.
dude, she stuck with your pops, okay? When no one would.
Give him a cowboy hat or something.
Dude, old school conservative. So, yeah, dude, went to La Cueva and graduated, had zero direction, like most people, I think.
Right.
I didn't really know. I didn't feel like I had a purpose. So I did what most 18-year-olds do when they graduate. I joined the Coast Guard.
You were in the Coast Guard.
Yeah.
I went in the Marine Corps, and I wanted to go in the Coast Guard.
That's funny. I wanted to not be in the military, but I was broke. So so I did that and it was really, it was an experience, to say the least, because I didn't skew that way at all. But at the time, it was, oh wait, I need to make money, and I need to take, all of a sudden I'm 18 and I don't have any life skills.
What did it have to do anything with, the pressure from your dad? Or
I think part of it maybe because since I didn't have a dad, it was like, well, I don't know how to be a man because YouTube isn't invented yet. So I don't know how to grill anything. I don't know how to build anything. What does it mean to be a man? I'm going to join a branch of the military. Wait, this is the DOT. So, yeah, man. So I did that and failed miserably at it. And I found myself as a 20-something managing a GameStop. And yeah, I ran a business. Like
Are you a gamer?
The store manager.
Or were you a gamer?
Dude, I got home from the Coast Guard, and like all I had when I was out there was like my little Game Boy. So I went into this is no joke. I went into this place to get a strategy guide for a video game at the time.
Oh, I love
And they were
those.
like, "Oh, you have tattoos. You seem cool. You should work here because this is a nerd store and nobody takes this seriously." No joke. And I ended up working there for like 5 years and was a store manager and ran a GameStop. Yeah.
Wow, that's
Before
crazy.
they were GameStop. Now it's like this corporate giant. But
Right,
back then
right.
it was like kids were wearing T-shirts and I was listening to my Walkman and, categorizing.
It was almost, I can remember like
categorizing
trading
Nintendo
games.
Yeah.
And it was like, it's almost like dime bags and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
dude, it was crazy. So I did that for years and had no direction. And
What years were these? Was this
Oh,
when like
gosh.
gaming was like coming up?
Quake
and stuff?
Yeah, late 90s, early 2000s. I was there for the launch of the Nintendo 64, of the or not the Nintendo 64, excuse me, for the GameCube, for the PlayStation 2. Like
You were at the launch. You were
I
the
was
manager
there for the launch. Yeah,
for the launch
of these video game systems, for the Sega Dreamcast.
Oh,
Which
yeah.
you want to talk business, man? Sega, where were you? They were the first system that was like online gaming, but this is the late 90s, and everybody's like, what are online video games? And nobody knew. And they had a brilliant idea that I still think it's probably the coolest video game system that was ever put out.
It's what we were talking about earlier, execution.
Yeah, it was way before its time.
Yeah.
And yet there weren't enough people because, you're like, yeah, but I have to have the internet. Is that thing that makes a lot of really weird noises? And it takes 17 minutes and I can never actually connect.
You're on the chat board.
Yeah, dude.
Waiting.
Seriously.
I used to hate on the gaming when it would lag.
Oh my gosh.
And you're like, I know he's around here in the corner, and then all of a sudden it would lag, and then next thing you know, you're dead.
Exactly. And so because of that, it kind of failed, And so that was the last video game system Sega made, and then they're like, all right, let's get smart, guys. We're only going to make video games. And they turned into like a video game company. And so I was there for all that, and seriously, still no direction. Like no direction. And I ended up meeting a dude that worked there, or that when I worked there, who worked in radio, and we just became friends and started hanging out. And one Christmas, his co-host went to Japan to visit her family, and he was like, you should co-host the morning show with me. And I'm like,
Wow.
Man, I know nothing about radio. Nothing. I play video games and manage a video game store. And he was like, you're hilarious. You should come hang out with me. And I went and did the show. This was in 2002. I went and did the show with him. And that day, the general manager of the radio station was like, dude, you are hilarious. Do you want a job?
Wow.
And I've been
Just
doing
like
it.
that.
I've been doing it since 2002.
Wow. How old were you in 2002? No, you don't have to.
Is it sad? I'm counting.
That's when you know.
Yeah.
When you have to do the
Yeah.
counting.
I'm like 2002. I was 24.
Oh,
So,
24, yeah.
Yeah, man.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So from 24 till now,
I've been doing radio.
So tell me a little bit about, like, for instance, like because like one of the things that you're so great at is talking with people and interviewing people.
Yeah.
And I think especially with business leaders, having that ability to be able to talk to someone, to negotiate, and I think a lot of people get into, I need to hustle, I need to sell, I need to, but they forget about the person.
Okay, so let me tell you one of the best things that happened to me. One, I'm a curious individual. So I care in that regard.
Right.
But when I was first in radio, it didn't totally pay the bills, and I was newly married. I had my first baby on the way. I really needed health insurance. And so I ended up working a few jobs to make it work. And one of the jobs I worked was for Apple. I was a genius for Apple. And
wow,
I know. I'm a jack of all trades, Jason. A jack
not
of
only introduced
all
the
trades.
PlayStation 2, but was a genius.
But was
for
a
Apple.
genius. Let me tell you how much I hate that title. Hey, genius, can you fix my phone? But at Apple, there were certain business philosophies that Steve Jobs had set up. If you've never read Steve Jobs' book, as a business leader, if you've never read Steve Jobs' book, read his book.
Mm-hmm.
His strategies on meetings, meeting times, who needs to be in meetings, incredible. And the way that he connected with a human being was also phenomenal, because one of his big things was always assume positive intent.
Yeah, and a lot of people look at him at the other way.
Yeah.
That demanding, cracking the whip.
Isn't that
type
weird?
guy. Yeah.
Because, dude, he would send emails. And he'd be like, I just got an email from Steve Jobs. And it was the coolest thing on the planet. And one of their very, very big business model things was always assume positive intent. So if somebody walks in and they say, my laptop crashed and I don't know what happened, your first thought is like, yeah, right, bro, you spilt beer on it. That's what happened. Seriously. Like,
right.
And you think the most negative things, because as people, like, we're wired to turn negative.
Mm-hmm.
We really are. And so for a business minded person, you're thinking strategy, you're thinking, how can I seal the deal? How can I sell this person? And no one likes that. I mean, we started the conversation with authenticity. People are craving authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
So don't try and sell them something. Like at Apple, it was like, don't sell them a computer. If that's not what's best for them, they're going to end up hating the company because it didn't do anything for them.
That's so long term.
We want to put the best product in their hand that matters to them. Don't sell them a computer and an iPad and a phone and all these things because you're trying to, like, make commission.
Mm-hmm.
Get them what they need, because then they'll come back because they'll trust you. And so from a radio perspective, if I'm always just curious about the person, like what makes them tick? What do they want? It helps me greatly as an interviewer, because it's not about me anymore trying to get the right question out there, trying to get the sound bite. It's about caring about the human being across from me and understanding what makes them tick.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think to any business owner out there or business-minded leader, you've got to get out of the mindset of sealing the deal, selling, profits this, we got numbers this and that and the other. Those things are important and vital for running a business. But if you're caring about a human being, caring about the individual, they'll return and you'll have the sales you need. I drive a freaking Mazda and it's my third one, because I went to this place that the guy that was taking care of me was taking care of me, not trying to sell me a car. And put me in this. I wasn't even looking for a Mazda. I was looking for something else entirely. And he said, dude, based upon you and what you're into and what you dig, I think you should check out this car that I think you might like. And I'm like, you know what? I'll check it out, thinking I'll show you. And I'm on my third one because it's the coolest car I've ever driven. Like, it's my jam.
Right.
Because he knew what I was looking for and didn't just try and pitch me something.
He took the
and sell
time
me.
to get to know you.
Yes, dude. And it's a lost art. Conversation in general is a lost art. We don't even know how to talk to people, which is why everyone's craving authenticity, because we're in a social media culture and a soundbite culture where people think 30 seconds and then their mind wiped. when really it's like, hey man, I'm really lonely, so I'm gonna put this really rad selfie of me on my Instagram, so everybody thinks that everything is amazing, when really I'm just showcasing you what I want you to see, when I'm really feeling hollow right now and would just love to talk to somebody.
But I think that hollow part is what is resonating with people.
Yeah.
When we actually get past all that,
The shiny.
and we get
Yeah.
that, and I think that's why I think, like you're seeing on your YouTube show, when you get past that and you get into, then next thing you know, the authenticity happens.
Dude, our very first episode of Don't Sweat the Small Stuff was with Patrick Fabian, who is on Better Call Saul. He plays Howard Hamlin. He's been on hundreds, no exaggeration, hundreds of television shows. He was Nurse Dan on Friends. He was Professor Lasky on Saved by the Bell, the college years. He's been on his first go round was on Murder, She Wrote with Angela Lansbury.
Oh, yeah.
So he's been doing it that long to now, right?
Isn't there like 30 seasons?
Dude, insanity, right? So on one hand, you could be the shiny, oh my gosh, you're an actor and you've been on television? Oh my gosh, you're so famous. This is the coolest thing ever. Or you could go, dang, dude. So what's it like to be a father and a husband and not know where your next paycheck's coming from? Because as an actor, he's got random odd jobs, but no consistent paycheck. So how stressful is that, right? Like, so what's that world like? And that's what we talked about. We talked about, how's he going to put his kids through college, not knowing where his next check is coming from, and kind of trusting in the biz, if you will. And so when you realize that it doesn't matter if you're an actor or a rock star or whatever it is, like, we're all human beings with the same insecurities, fears. They might be packaged differently, but we're all human beings. We're all created in the same way. And so we're all going to have these kind of quirks and faults and design flaws, if you will. And so, yeah.
But I think it's like, I mean, you can see that because you can see two people. You could have entered that conversation with your ego. You know, I have a morning show. I'm super popular in Albuquerque. You're on my show. And then he comes with, I'm an actor. And so and then you have two egos hit.
Oh.
And that conversation could have played totally different than would be like, you're coming with humility, you're a human, and let's have a genuine conversation. How do you get that? You know, that's one of the things I've noticed about you, and I can brag about you a little bit. That's one of the things I noticed about you is that you get to the heart. You're really, really good at interviews, at getting to the heart of the person. Like when you, like, let's say a business leader is talking to another one and they want to enter into a partnership or something like that, because I'm always looking at a business. Yeah. How do you get to the heart of someone?
For me, I think you nailed it with humility. And I don't want to sound like, oh, I'm the most humble guy. No. Here's what I know. More than that, I'm a realist. I know that for every person that can look at me and say, you're on a successful morning show. Oh my gosh, you guys were top 5 best of the city in Albuquerque, the magazine. You've got this many subscribers on your podcast. You've done, I could rattle off all these numbers, but at the end of the day, those numbers are hollow. They don't satisfy me.
Right.
It's cool. It's cool to have successes, and I celebrate those successes because we want those successes, but they don't define me. And because I know that they're fleeting. If my identity's wrapped up in who I am as a local celebrity, when that goes away, I'm nothing.
Yeah, when the microphone goes away, what are you? Yeah.
Exactly. I'm a puppet, I'm a monkey, I'm a pawn, I'm nothing. And so I know that my identity's not in that. I'm not wrapped up in that. So what is my identity wrapped up in? And for every single human being, we kind of have to answer that. And so I just am consciously aware of that so much that I want to know what makes you you. Right. Why are you you? What makes you tick? Why are you where you're at? Why are we in this room doing this podcast right now? Why do you care about business-minded people to help them enough to do something like this show? You know what I mean? Like it's just, I've just been curious that way, I guess, because I'm wired in that way. I don't know.
Do you tailor the interviews that way? Do you get online and start looking at them and seeing, you know, or do you just kind of say, okay, this is where this person's at. Let me see if I can. How do you do that process?
I know that as an interviewer, they've probably been asked the same questions 1,000 times. If it's a band, it's, how'd you name your band? Or what's your favorite song? And those are kind of So for me, it's more about how did you get to care about playing guitar? How did you get to? And so if it's a business owner, I think there are important questions if you're going to partner with somebody in a business.
Mm-hmm.
Why this business? What gravitated you to this? What is it about, this partnership that is exciting to you? Because it may not work. Maybe it is just some high, some emotion right now, right? That's fleeting. That's like, oh yeah, dude, this isn't really who they are. They saw a commercial or they did this thing or some friend told them, oh man, put your money in this. This is where it's going. And it's not really a passion. I care about passion so much. And I think when it comes to smart business-minded people, I think passion is vitally important because you're going to burn out in some regard, in some way. And if you don't have a passion for it, man, the burnout factor is going to be much quicker.
Yeah, I can even imagine going every day. I mean, you have to probably get up pretty early.
Very early. Yeah, my alarm goes off at 3:30 every morning.
Oh wow!
I meet up with Dex and we outline the day. We want to know the latest. So we don't plan a show days in advance. Because we want it to be today. What's going on in your world today? What's going on now? Let's hit the news. Let's find all these different stories and let's discuss what's going on in our culture and music and movies.
Do you think that when you're interviewing somebody and you're talking to them and you're trying to make that heart connection, do you feel that moment when it happens?
Oh yeah. and then I will say there are definite times where you can tell that a person is. I look at most athletes. We're just taking it one game at a time, and and they've got these like responses that's like that's a canned response.
Right.
I don't want that.
I'm going to Disneyland.
Yeah. You don't want those because it's like, oh, that's not real. And so I can also tell when it's a disconnect. We've cut interviews short for that reason. Like, yeah, this isn't real. They're literally just trying to pitch their show because they were forced to by a network or whatever it is.
When do you know like when it's getting real and when it's not? Because, if I'm pitching a product or I'm pitching something to another business owner, and I hate to even use the word pitch. Right.
That
sounds so
horrific. Yeah,
horrific.
when you're talking to somebody, you can tell when they check out. I don't know. It's like, have you ever had to sit in a room and somebody goes, dude, watch this really funny video on my phone. And then for 2 minutes, you're stuck watching this video trying to fake laugh. Like, the uncomfortableness that is, they're not into this, right? And so because of that, it's like you can tell that they're not into it. So why are you wasting my time and why am I wasting your time?
I literally had that happen yesterday.
Oh my gosh!
So I was with a client and he wanted to show me a 5-minute video that he produced.
Oh, and you're just minutes. Did you have to have that fake look on your face? Like I was like, so
and
exciting.
Then he went and used the bathroom, but he left his phone on the table.
So you fast forwarded it to the end. And
hoping that he wouldn't get the time.
We've all been there, right?
But even he, when he got back, the video was still going. He started talking over his own video.
Yeah. So exactly. And so that's what I'm saying. Like, we want real. Don't give me fake. Like, we want real. And so I do think when you're passionate about a product or something, you don't have to pitch it. You're just telling them why it's exciting to you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like the car that I jumped into wasn't because the person was trying to sell it to me. They were genuinely like, no, dude, this, and I think you're going to love this because you're this type of person. And oh my gosh, this. And I'm like, wow, this person's really into this. I'm going to check it out because, well, if somebody else is into it, I want to see what that's about.
Their passion made you curious.
Yeah. It made me very curious.
Right.
And so I was willing to check it out. And like I said, three deals later, I'm doing the same thing because they were right. I love it.
So what do you think about, we're talking, it seems to be the theme of this podcast is authenticity.
Yeah.
And I know you're at a Christian radio station.
Yeah, dude.
So what do you think about Christianity and authenticity?
Oh, man.
We're going to kind of go
How much time do we have? What do I think about Christianity and authenticity? Here's what I know. I know that as a Christian, for me personally, I read scripture and I hear the things that Jesus said, that he's the way, he's the truth, right? And the life. That people shall know the truth and the truth shall set them free, right? So I know that for Christ, that homie was authentic. He was the realest of the real. In fact, if you look at the villains in the story, if you will, of the New Testament, it was the religious people. It was the people that were just putting on a show.
Right.
It was the people that were in their Sunday best, saying all the right things and living the worst life. They were the self-righteous. They were the people that thought they were better than everyone else. They were the people that weren't listening to the poor and the hurting and the dying and the struggling. They were the people that thought they were better. And Jesus wasn't about that. So if you want to talk about Christianity and authenticity, I think what gravitates me to Jesus is how real he was and how he said that true religion is caring for the widows and the orphan, and how we are out there dying to ourselves and being a servant to all because that's what he did.
Right.
That's what he lived and died. And then you look at the televangelist, and then you look at the megachurch pastor, and then you look at the things that you see, and people hate it, which is why there's a turnoff to, like, when you said Christian radio station, I cringed because in our culture, when you think Christian, you think bigot, hater, anti this, that, and the other. When Christ was known and is known for what he was for, which is love and grace and mercy and compassion and caring for others. And a lot of times today, just the term Christianity mostly is identified with what they are against.
But can I put my Ralph Lauren shirt on and network with my multi-marketing
you can totally do
on Sunday mornings?
Because here's the thing. Here's what I've had to learn also. Since we're talking authenticity, my mother, who is now 70 years old, is still that Baptist mom. And I'm looking at her life and recognizing that to her, that is the most authentic form of worship she can give to her creator.
Why do we judge like that?
Right. So like I have to be careful, because you want to talk faith and you want to talk Christianity. I tend to judge oppositely. Like I won't judge the person that's struggling and dying and, man, I'm sleeping with my girlfriend or this and that. And I'm like, yo, I know that life. It's hard. Right?
Right.
And then in turn, I judge the person that's like upright and like, well, I won't smoke and I don't watch R-rated movies. And I'm like, man, that's so fake. Realizing that maybe that's not fake. Maybe to them, that is their authentic way to represent their faith or love the God that created them.
Yeah, I know. And
it's hard,
yeah,
man.
It's hard. Especially, I know you're a musician.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I imagine your mom went around with hymns and stuff, which I love hymns.
I love the hymns.
Yeah.
You know, that's funny, though, right? And because hymns are just bar tunes.
Right.
They were just like the town drunks were singing these bar tunes. And then the theologians of the day were like, dude, we should put some Jesus lyrics to this and sing some bar tunes.
Right.
I mean, that's why it was called the pub, because it was the public place. And that's where people got their news. And that's where people got their ideas. And that's like, man, that's what the bar scene was in the 1700s.
And I think that's coming around online.
I hope so.
I think you're seeing that. And then there's more community.
Yeah.
There's a resurgence. It was interesting. I just had a pastor on the podcast.
Okay.
And I hit him with a lot of interesting questions. So we talked about racism. We talked about and it was interesting to see his standpoint of great. But it was interesting to see his standpoint of how Christianity in America, in particular, because we're talking about American Christians, how it missed the boat.
Yep.
And how what's happening now.
Yeah.
We'll have a young generation listen to 3 hours of a podcast.
Yep.
But they won't go to church for an hour.
Right. And what sucks about that is I think we are also oppositely doing a disservice to some churches that are real, that are totally rocking it for Jesus and in an authentic way, but because the majority sucks, for lack of a better word, we just say, well, we blanket statement everything. I mean, you look at our culture, and so there's the people, whether it's like the megachurch pastor that was swindling everybody for money, so now that's all Christians, or maybe it's the business owner that was taking and embezzling all the money, and now we hate not only this corporation but all business owners. Or maybe it's the doctor that gave you the wrong information, and because of that a family member got ill or, God forbid, passed away because they took the wrong medication, and now we hate all doctors. Like, that's what we do with everything. Everything.
Yes, yeah.
And it's unfortunate. And
we're anti everything.
We really are. And so I think for the business owner, you've got that quote person that comes in the room and you're like, they're not going to buy a car, or they're not going to be interested. I'm not going to waste my time, because you just generalize them as a human being rather than care about who they are as a person.
And we all know, and when we look at Jesus's life, he never generalized.
No, man, not even a little bit.
No.
You mentioned racism, and I immediately thought of the woman at the well in Samaria, who, like, dude, the Samaritans and the Jews hated each other. And here's this Jewish dude, like, walking up to the Samaritan woman, like, hey, how's it going? Let's have an authentic conversation. And she was the one weirded out, because she's like, don't you know that, like, the Jews and the, like, Samaritan people, like, we're not supposed to kick it, man. Like,
I know, yeah.
You need to go. And he's like, why? What, we're humans.
But they were equal. I mean,
they were.
And when you look at him, you know, if you believe in Christianity and you believe in that model, and you look at Jesus as being God in the flesh.
Yeah, dude.
And he's looking at her as equal.
Yeah.
And like he's equal.
Yep.
That's amazing. We just had Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and so I went through. I always love going through and looking at the old black and white pictures of.
Man.
And it's so heartbreaking because you see dogs being released, you know, and our dogs on leashes, and they're letting them bite them, or fire hoses. Like Martin Luther King, it showed him a picture of him and all these people peacefully protesting, kneeling and praying.
Yeah. And
then they're just putting fire hoses on them. It's like that right there is to me, like the personification of what we're against.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely.
But it's wrapped in this beautiful little American dream.
Right. Well, that's, man, we could go all the way back to that. You mentioned the American dream, and I kind of despise it. You got the white picket fence, you've got the wife, you've got the like 2.5 kids, you've got the dog, you've got all these things that were allegedly supposed to satisfy you, and I think that's why the divorce rate is so high. I think that's why the suicide rate is so high. I think that's why a lot of problems exist in America, because we were sold this idea that this is what will satisfy you. You need the spouse, you need the kids, you need the dog, you need the job, you need the this. And no one stopped to think about what makes me tick. Maybe I'm different. What will fulfill me? And so we all chased after this dream that was hollow and was some random person's dream that they set up. And maybe it was their dream. Maybe it really was what was best for them, but that doesn't mean it's always best for everyone. And
because is your passion there?
Right.
You know, you're the same as me in the sense of, if I had to work on an assembly line, and I'm not saying anything against people that work on an assembly line.
No, not at all. That's just not how you're wired.
If I had a job where I had to do that and they're going to pay me really good money, I lasted 2.5 weeks. Yeah. Because I was in a cubicle and I had to put together these parts, these aerospace parts, and they were paying good money. And then they would ring a bell and I would go to break and everybody would like open their little lunch boxes up. Yeah. No one hardly talked to each other.
You're like, and then I'm in a cartoon.
I felt like it was one of those little like there was what's that new show where they control all the people on HBO?
Westworld.
Yeah, that's what I felt like. I was in, like I was a mouse.
That is the greatest television series ever created. I'm not even joking.
Dude, you could take so many parallels with that.
You can. You really can. That was Michael Crichton, like who wrote Jurassic Park and all these other books that way before its time, that truly it's what satisfies you.
He was on ayahuasca or psilocybin or something when he made that.
Dude, that, yeah. Oh my gosh.
I was like, every time I'm like, I always try to like look at, okay, how can I relate that to this? Or how can and I'm just like, this is where we're at.
Yep. No, it truly is where we're at. It really. I was just doing a thing with Isaac Asimov. He was, he wrote books in the 50s, right? He wrote I, Robot. He wrote Bicentennial Man, and he was talking about computers and all these things in the future. And in the 1980s, before he passed away, he was interviewed, because this is a man who was talking about computers and robots before they were even invented. Like one of the greatest minds in sci-fi, right? He was born in like 1908 or something like that, right?
That's
early
crazy.
1900s, and died in, I believe, 1992. He passed away. And so I was doing research. In the 80s, he talked about what 35 years from now would look like. And we're there. And he talked about the disassociation of humans, the disconnect in businesses because of the computerization of everything and removing the need for humanity. He talked about the disconnect with human beings because now everything they would need would be at their fingertips in their home, the computer.
Yeah.
He talked about the school systems. He talked about government. He talked about all these things, and I'm going, this dude is blowing my mind. I mean, he was a staunch atheist, like till the day he died. But he also said that he cared for human's perspective. He was a humanist. So if you believed in God and that was how you felt, like, right on, good for you.
Right.
He just couldn't do it. But he had all these thoughts in the 80s about what we would look like today. And it baffles me because it all centered around this computer that was going to grow and essentially take over everything.
Yeah, and we have a choice right now. Humanity has a choice what to do with the technology.
Right. Because it's a great connector, but it can also be a disconnector.
Mm-hmm.
It really can. So social media, it can be a disconnector because you're just putting your fake foot forward, if you will, wanting people to see what you want them to see, not really having to have a face-to-face conversation with somebody. On the flip side, it can be helpful. Maybe there's some business-minded people listening right now who are like, hey, man, I'm doing this. I'm rocking this business podcast because I care and I want to grow. And you're learning about being authentic as a business owner. Right on. So there's some cool things, but then there's some scary things too. So
yeah, I was watching a Google talk and on YouTube, and the guy was talking about drones, and he was saying, to kind of geek out a little bit, he was saying we can have the drone that shoots the weapons, or we can have the drone that reseeds the forests.
Oh,
it could,
man.
The same drone can do the same thing.
Yeah.
So it can plant these little seedling trees, and you could literally have hundreds of drones running around the forest just replanting it, in a matter of a few days because they could work 24/7.
Yeah.
Or you can have them, shooting missiles at people.
Gosh.
So, we have that choice.
Right.
In our life. Well, we're going to go ahead and take a break right now. We've been at 47 minutes already.
Oh, my gosh. I love it.
I knew this is what was going to happen.
Yeah, yeah.
We're going to take a break, and then we're going to come right back. Thank you, guys.
Join us this week for another episode of the Albuquerque Business Podcast with your host, Jason Rigby. Each week, he interviews leading local business leaders that inspire the vision and spirit in every entrepreneur, discussing strengths, weakness, strategies, systems, and the problems we can all solve together to fulfill a shared vision of a new future for Albuquerque. Listen or download this Sunday afternoon at 4 from your favorite podcasting app.
And we're back on the Albuquerque Business Podcast. We're with Stevo, and we're talking about authenticity. And we just got done with the whole dynamic. We went into church on a business podcast.
I know, right? Well, okay, you want to be real? Sadly, today, church is a business. It very much is, and it's selling something.
You got like 4,000 people rolling in there.
Yeah. Oh, 4,000, that's chump change. We're talking like 12,000 where I go. So on any given weekend, there's 7 services now. So unfortunately, yeah, that's kind of where it's become, which is why it's losing the authenticity.
So what do you think? I mean, like in particular, what do you think that we've put so much pressure on ourselves to push and push and push and push? And I know you're talking about, Jesus earlier being authentic.
Yeah.
I mean, how long did he do ministry? Like 3 years?
Yeah, 3 years, right? From 30 to 33 before they murdered him.
How many megachurch pastors have been murdered?
Yeah. I mean, well, in the States or abroad. So, yeah, dude, exactly. Well, but I think it's interesting because even just stating that, I'm like, man, I'm still doing that. I'm still the jerk because maybe that is the authenticity that maybe they're at a place in their lives where they're like, this is real to me, but we're judging that.
Yeah.
There's a really dope hip hop artist named NF, and he started in the Christian world, and oh my gosh, love this dude. His real name's Nate. He's a great guy. And he talks in one track about how church was where he learned grace and forgiveness, but it's also where he learned to judge. And I think about that often because it's true. And unfortunately, as a Christian, I tend to, I'm still doing that right now, judging the mega church because it's like, well, that's big business to me. But really, what if the CEO, if you will, or the pastor behind it, he didn't have that vision. He's just being real. And because people crave authenticity, it's growing naturally.
Right.
And because it's growing, we don't like that now because it's like big money or something. But
there always has to be that rub, I think. And I think there has to be that dichotomy of that where you're looking at that and saying, and I imagine a lot of them have vision enough to where they're looking at their staff and saying, where are we being, inauthentic at?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think back to the fact that nobody started in this giant building. Maybe it really was grassroots, and
there's
telling
no
everybody,
giant building here.
Yeah. And they're telling
this
people
is a nonprofit
turn to page
station.
243. We're going to sing "I'll Fly Away," and there was 19 people in the room, and 18 of them were their siblings. You know what I mean? That was all family, but it grew because it was blessed or because it was real and people craved real, and so they were attracted to it. I mean, we're looking at, like, especially from an industry standpoint, why is it bad that it's successful, right?
Right.
It just doesn't seem real.
Why do we get so jealous with success?
And maybe that's
Especially here in New Mexico.
Yeah. Maybe it's because we're not there.
Business owners be that way. It's like, this person's being successful, so what can I get from them? If I can't get anything from them, then I'm going to talk bad about them.
It's funny because as we're talking business, and I'm equating it to church because that's what I know, there's a lot of churches that won't partner with one another. And yet, if we're looking at it biblically, we're the hands and feet, right? Like, we're all a part of the same body of Christ. So if we're all a part of the same crew, if you will, well, why is there an animosity? Because of greed or selfishness, or because I don't want them to succeed. I want us to succeed. And for us to succeed, they need to partner with me over here. And there's these, like, contingencies that, like,
well, Jesus partnered a lot with the synagogues, didn't he?
Yeah, dude. So I don't know. Maybe we've all got it like that. Like, we just have this idea that it's just got to be, like, low key and chill. But why can't we trust a successful business?
And I think it's that abundance.
That would be smart.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? It's like they know how to do business. So,
but I think it's there's, you can have an abundance mentality in the sense of, like, it's fine. It's good to have competition.
Yeah.
If you're a business owner and you don't have competition, a lot of times you'll get left in the dust.
Oh, dude, professionally speaking, Dex and I, we do this morning show, The Morning Invasion. And what drives us is, this last year was, man, we were top 5 for, best of the city for our morning show. We really wanted to be number 1. We really wanted to beat Jackie, Tony, Donnie. Like, that was the goal. We're like, we are going to crush them. We're going to be funnier. We're going to be different. We're going to be real. We're going to be whatever. And it did drive us. It challenged us because we wanted to know what they were doing. Turns out they just have $1 billion, and that's why they win. But but really, it should drive you. It should challenge you, because I don't want to be complacent. I don't want to just chill and, like, rest on my laurels and be like, I've made it, dog. You know what I mean? You never want to be there either. And so being challenged is a good thing. I think it should drive you. It really
you
should.
And I think if you have the abundance mentality and you have I have this new journal. I just got a gratitude journal. And it's horrific for me because I have to go in there
you have
in the
diary?
morning time.
Let's talk. Let's talk about this, man.
Yeah, you don't want to read it.
Yeah.
But I have to go in there. I have to go in there in the morning. I make myself, and I have to write things that I'm grateful for. And it's so funny because a lot of times it's easy to look at the people that I hate. Mm-hmm. And I'm using that word because that's the emotion that you get. Yeah. But even though I like to say I don't hate people, but there's these people that you want to hate.
Well, I like that you posed that because the Super Bowl was recently, and of course it's a bajillion-dollar industry as far as commercialism, and since we're talking businesses, there was a Dove commercial, and I don't know if you saw this. They asked women, what is your least favorite feature? And the average response time was 2 seconds, instantaneously. I don't like my butt. I don't like my thighs. I don't like my arms. I don't like my chest. I don't like whatever, right? And then they asked them, what's your best feature? And it took a long time. They couldn't think of what their best feature was. And so I like the idea of being grateful for things because we do tend to skew negative. It's easy to tell you the things I hated in my day. It's easy to point to the things I don't like about someone else or I don't like about myself. But now make me focus on the positive of someone else that maybe I don't agree with or somebody I don't like or a business that I'm contending against or something else. And it's going to take me a lot longer, or even tell me the best thing about me. And I'd have to ponder it.
Have we gone to the point where we had lunch with our competitors? Where we sit down and view them as a person.
Oh gosh.
Could you imagine that?
Right. Well, it's funny. Like you keep bringing it to like equating it to church because that's what I know. And Jesus said to pray for those that persecute you. Like, right. We're supposed to love our enemies and pray for those who persecute you. Like we're supposed to have those conversations and we're supposed to pour like love on them. And by doing that, we'll like heap burning coals on their head. And it wasn't meant to be like so that we can murder them with fire. It was, what we're called to do as servants is to love and to care and to have mercy and grace and compassion for everyone, including those that we don't agree with.
Or even our employees.
Yeah. Oh.
Imagine with a person as a leader displaying servant leadership in their business.
Well, look at this. Look at this Gillette commercial that came out recently about the best a man can get, and it was it was kind of antagonistic to toxic masculinity and boys will be boys and what men should be. And I heard a great man say, the best way to have a conversation with a man is not, in fact, to tear him down. Because when they put that commercial out, they probably had the best intentions in the world of, man, we want to do better as a culture because this movement right now, whether it's like the Time's Up, Me Too, men, we need to be better, we need to do these things. But the way to do it wasn't to say all men are pigs because there were some men that were like, hey, dude, I'm a dad. I'm a husband. I do well. Why are you saying we're all like this? You just generalized me in a negative way, and there was some serious backlash to it. So instead, what if we did praise somebody? What if we did say, in this area, you are successful, you are succeeding, you're doing well, because then I know for me, man, that's going to motivate me to want to take on the world. I'll crush anything if I have my wife behind me telling me I can do it.
Exactly.
You better believe I'm gonna do it.
But I mean, look at yourself personally with the struggles of your dad passing away so early.
Yeah, man.
And then understanding masculinity.
Yeah.
Where did you get that from?
Well, and that's funny. Like that's at its core. Man, it's so funny. I wasn't planning on talking so deeply about my faith, but at its core, growing up in a culture that said, "Well, God is your father. You don't need a dad." I was like, "Cool. I don't like you, church, because I don't know what a father looks like." So. I had a very hard time with it. And so when it came to being a man, I had to remove myself from that and try and understand the characteristics of what that looked like. And I'll tell you, there's a phrase that I will say till I die to my sons. I am so proud of you. I will tell them that with every minute success. I don't care how small it seems. I will always say, I am so proud of you. Because if somebody ever said, I am so proud of you, I could change the world. I really could. And so I think
growing up, how many people did you have say that to you besides your mom?
Nobody. Recently a person asked about mentors and people that really carved you out, if you will. Somebody that really shaped me as a young person, that was a male role model figure. And unfortunately, I can't look to that. I don't have that. My dad passed away when I was 6. And I can't think of a youth group leader. I can't think of a pastor. I can't think of a business guy. I can't think of a mentor. I can't think of a teacher. Unfortunately, I didn't have that. And so, but as we talked about in previously, I think that's why I strive so much to be that for my children, because I don't think we recognize the value of, well, being authentic. How about this? We are all created with a purpose. Like every single one of us has these amazing ideas. We're all gifted in different areas. And if we just recognize that every single one of us, I don't care your race, your religion, your sexual orientation, your whatever, every single one of us has a purpose and we're very special. And if we recognize that in everyone, even the people we don't agree with, even the people we don't get along with, the people that we don't like because of whatever it is, their race or their religion or how they identify, but recognize as a human being they have value, man, I can't imagine where we would be as a society, not just as a business or as a marriage or as a relationally. Like, could you imagine if we just actually valued people, like what that would do? Imagine
if we did that on social media.
Right.
I mean, we're using social media to hide behind.
Oh, man. Yeah.
But I want to get back to what you say to your sons, I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
Imagine if we said that to our employees. As business leaders, imagine if we would come to them in the day and instead of just being so, because I'm guilty that way too. I'll get with my employees and I'm like, you need to do this. You need to do this. Let's have a meeting. This is what's got to get done. And then just stopping and saying, you know what? You're doing a great job. I'm really proud of you.
We've talked about two things, and it's funny. I think the best bosses in the world do both. They challenge you to be better, and they praise you when you do well. I think if a business owner did that, both of those two things, to recognize the good in the person where they're at right now, but challenge them that they can succeed even greater than they are now in a positive manner, it would flip everything upside down.
It would, because I go into so many businesses and they want to do digital marketing, and I start talking to the employees and I start looking at them, and it's like, you have a great employee right here, and they haven't had a raise in 8 years.
Yeah.
And this
I hope my
person
boss
loves
is
you.
listening. God, I hope my boss is listening. Chip, if you're listening, man, listen. It's been a minute. A minute.
But think about it. They've done everything loyal that they should do. They've gone to bat for you.
Yeah, man.
They've worked the extra hours, not asked for any overtime.
Yeah.
And then you know that they're dependent. So you know that you can.
There's trust.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, what do we do to them? We just heap more and more responsibility on them, expect them to do more, and we disassociate ourselves from them.
Or because we recognize, maybe it's you're as the boss, you recognize like that person is so loyal, and I know no matter what they're always going to be loyal, and you just take that for granted. We just go, well, that person, oh, well, they're a servant. They're gonna continue to serve until death do us part. We kind of take advantage of that, and we just don't appreciate it. And so because of that, we burn them out so badly when all they just needed was I'm proud of you. Like, seriously, because then it reignites their passion because they know that you care for them. Oh, man.
I always look at, for me, I always like to flip it because we always look at Jesus all the time, but I like to look at his mom. I mean,
yeah.
And Mary.
You like to look at Mary? Catholics are so mad at you right now. They're like, yo, dude, you can't say that.
No, but I like to look. That's funny. I like to look at how loyal and how much she believed in him.
Oh, yeah.
Like even when they were drinking, and at the end, and you had the wedding and the wine and all that. She went right to him.
Canaan, bro. Yeah.
She's like, hey, you need to solve this problem.
Yeah.
And she believed in him enough to know that he could solve that he would be the one that would solve the problem.
Yeah, dude, people don't give her enough credit. Imagine like you were in a society where like you in order to get hitched, it wasn't like now where it's like, I'm into this person, I want to get married. Like basically everybody's like connecting everybody else, like, Joseph, you're gonna marry this chick, and she's this young girl and she's a virgin, and all of a sudden she finds out like, yo, you're pregnant. And it's cool though because it's God's kid, so right. Just live it out, bro. And imagine in that society like having to go through everything she went through just because, as we talked about, people skew negative. So how many people were like, yeah, that girl, yeah, oh yeah, it's God's.
And
oh
the reputation.
Yeah.
The judgmental
everything
that we all
is
have.
ruined now because this girl's walking around saying that God's child is within her. You know what I mean?
Right.
And she still had the wherewithal to go through with everything and to raise this child who is the Son of God. Yeah, man. And to believe in him because she knew.
Don't you think that put her to the place to where she was at, where she was faithful to the end?
Yep. Dude, there are certain things that like I gravitate to, and one of them is Mary. One of them is the book of James in scripture, because that was Jesus's brother who did not believe he was the Son of God, who was like, man, could you imagine if your brother's like, yo, dude, I'm God. You're like, yeah, okay, cool, bro. Make your bed and clean up your crap. Like, seriously.
I'm tired of you getting all the attention.
Yes, dude, your brother is the Son of God. You're like, yeah, okay. Jesus is getting everything. So this dude didn't believe. You know what I mean?
Right,
and so when I read that book, I'm like, man, from his perspective, because he proclaims it and lives and breathes it. So that's some serious faith.
Yeah, living with a perfect sibling.
Right. Oh, gosh. Don't even get me started. I have 2 siblings, and if one of them were Jesus, I don't know where I'd be, man. I don't know. So, yeah, seriously. So, but again, it came back to the authenticity, and it came back to that passion and the excitement and believing in someone else.
Yeah, and I always love it in the scriptures where it talks about when the angel came to her.
Yeah.
And what she said.
Yeah.
She knew what was going to happen.
Dude, yeah.
And she said, be it unto me according to thy will.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Could you imagine saying that?
No.
When you know what's going to happen?
Not at all.
Can you imagine being a business leader and knowing you have a multi-million-dollar business and somebody coming to you and saying, this is all going to crumble. You're going to have a bad reputation in the town.
Yeah.
But in the end, this is what's going to happen.
This is going to happen.
Do you have enough faith to believe in that?
No, and nobody's going to trust that. No one is. Nobody's going to take that risk. Like, seriously, how many people would take that risk? So, Faith in business ownership. Wow. Wow.
A lot of parallels here.
Yeah, no. I believe that, man. Just like I believe in the parallels of artistry, whether it's music or film, television, whatever it is. Because here's the deal, man. If we're talking faith and we're looking at the Bible as the Word of God, like if we live according to that, or we believe that, like, hey, man, this was inspired by the Creator of the world. It says that we are created in the image of God, and He's the ultimate dude who created the dopest stuff. Like, there's nothing that we could ever do to be like, yeah, this rivals God. Like, that dude was creative.
Right.
He was inspiring. He was brilliant, and still is. And so if all of us recognize that, I think we would be more risk takers. I think we'd go, man, if I'm created in the image of this guy who took all of the risks, who did all of the things, who created some amazing things when no one believed in it, and it succeeded, where would we be if we just had a little more faith?
But don't you think that's at the heart of entrepreneurship?
Yes.
Is taking that faith and believing in something that you have?
Yeah.
And saying, and going against all odds.
And that's why certain people succeed, because they have that drive and determination. Even when no one else believes in them, they're going to accomplish it. If somebody went to Steve Jobs in the 70s and was like, bro, here's what you're going to accomplish, I feel like he's the dude that would be like, yeah, I am. Like, imagine somebody coming to you and being like, listen, I know computers aren't a thing yet because the personal computer doesn't come around until 1992, but here it is, the 70s, and here's what you're going to do. And by the year 2019, literally everything's going to be in the palm of someone's hand. And I'm going to be able to purchase something from Japan that's then going to be shipped 2-day shipping for free, thanks Amazon or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
And like, this is where it's going to be in a society in 40 years because of your vision. Would
crazy,
you take that leap?
Yeah, no, that's crazy. But
like, seriously,
but that's what's happening. And I think we as business leaders, we get so caught into the now.
Yeah, we do.
And we don't look and take the faith enough to understand what can happen in the future.
We're all Baptists. It's a numbers game. We just care about numbers.
How many people are in
How
the
many
pews?
people are at the potluck?
I love potluck.
Yeah, dude, me too. I that was one thing that I loved about growing up Baptist. You knew there was going to be a bucket of chicken at the end of church.
Yeah, I'm from the South.
That's
too, so
my jam. Yes, dude.
We had collard greens,
fried okra.
okra.
Seriously, that's still to this day. That is my jam.
And then we had, what was the banana pudding with the wafers? The vanilla wafers.
You
in
just
it?
With
the crisp.
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
my goodness.
No. There's one thing, and I think it's called ambrosia salad. Like, I can't even remember what it's called. It's got like coconut, and it's got little
Chunks of
marshmallows. Yes,
marshmallows.
Yeah.
It's like, how do
I
you
think it's
invent
called
that?
ambrosia salad, and I didn't know that for years. I'm like, okay, Apollonia all over this. Like, it's good, man. It's good.
Awesome.
So anyway,
well, we're gonna close on this. We've got to go.
We're closing on Apollonia.
And potlucks. That's what we have for you business leaders in Albuquerque.
Yeah, man. You got to have faith. George Michael.
We can't close on George
We can't close on George Michael? All right.
Byron's in here from 99.9 The Beat,
Yes.
the owner of the radio station. Do you even play a George Michael song?
Yes! That is a real hip-hop station.
Gotta have faith.
Yes, dude. I'm just saying.
He passed away, didn't he?
Yeah,
When
he
Mike
did.
passed? That's
Why you
sad.
gotta bring it down? You gotta bring the room down. Just bringing it down. Yes, he did. Would you also like to talk about David Bowie, you insensitive jerk?
Oh, this is, yeah. This is horrific. We have derailed.
Yes, dude. I love it.
Obituaries of famous artists.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's sad.
We still have Snoop.
So tell me, Stevo, where they can, what's your Instagram so people can follow you?
At Stevo Jeets, STEVO JEETS.
Not Jeep.
No, Jeets. Yeah, Jeets. And you can also check out youtube.com/Don't Sweat the Small Stuff TV. for our new adventure.
I got to tell you, I've been telling people about your YouTube with the sauna.
Yeah, man.
And I did not, dude, this is how dumb I am. This is funny. I didn't know it was don't sweat the small stuff. So I was telling people, hey, go to Instagram. It's like DSS TV.
So at Instagram,
I thought it was like
DSTSS. Yeah. It's cool.
So that's cool. So do you have any upcoming new guests you can tell us about, or?
Oh gosh, Brendan Fair. He was the lab tech on CSI Miami for years. He was on the original Roswell. He was on the night shift. He's been on a lot of shows. He's an Albuquerque native, and he's on the show coming up. We also have Diego Sanchez, UFC fighter. Jeremiah Bitsui, who played Victor on Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Gosh, yeah, we've got some other surprises coming up. So the Dean Amin, our boy Keith Jardine. We got some fun guests.
And you have like a giveaway or something that's going to be.
Yeah,
happening? We're
actually giving away a sauna. J&H Lifestyles, who that's where we got our sauna from. We just tagged them. See, again, business owners, social media is king. We tagged them on a post once, and they were like, "What is this? Oh, you guys are using our sauna. You want to give one away?" And so we actually have a sauna that we're giving away. All you got to do is get to our Instagram and our YouTube, and you can find out details.
Who were the two sisters that you just had on?
Oh yeah, Lindsay Maestas and Tish Carlson. They are both mom bloggers, because that's a thing in our culture, and they own businesses.
I looked at one Instagram, and they had like a ton of followers.
Tens of thousands of followers who are stay-at-home moms and are like, "Hey, I want to know how to decorate my kitchen today." Seriously. So we actually talked about that. One's a career mom who owns 2 businesses, is a professional photographer, and has 3 kids. The other one literally is a stay-at-home mom who also blogs and does things, and she's got that mom guilt of never wanting to leave the house. So we talked career mom versus stay-at-home mom, because if everybody's created for a purpose, like, what's your purpose? Are we supposed to be a stay-at-home mom? Can we be career-minded?
To be able to put the passion.
Yeah, man. So
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, we could talk for hours. We got to have you back.
We could. Anytime.
Perfect.
I'm in.
Well, thank you all for today's episode of Albuquerque Business Podcast. Thanks for listening, and thank you to Stevo for joining us today. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, so you never miss an episode, and also stop by our website at www.abqpodcast.com. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you for joining us on the Albuquerque Business Podcast. And thank you to our sponsor, DukeCityMarketing.com. Please go to abqpodcast.com, where you can get show notes, resources, and links to everything we talked about today to help you navigate your journey as an entrepreneur and business owner in Albuquerque.